and welcome to this episode of Around West Warwick High. My name is Brian Lynch, and I am currently a junior attending West Warwick High School. During this podcast, I will interview most of the staff members of the school and learn about their jobs and a little about their life outside of school. Today, my guest is Mr. Mark Cicerone, and he is an English teacher who teaches on the 9th grade Blue Team. So how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Brian. Thanks for having me.
That's good. What led you to your profession as being a teacher?
I was in a couple of other professions. When I was younger, right out of high school, I went into cutting hair. I used to cut my friend's hair. I opened up a hair salon at one point. I did that for many years, and then decided I wanted to change my profession. So I went into the financial services industry for a while, where I sold mutual funds and insurances and things like that. And that kind of got stale really quickly, and then suddenly I was given an opportunity to work with my friend in California for a month, and it was an opportunity to work on a movie titled Wild Wild West, starring Will Smith and Kevin Kline, and I went out there, and it was an incredible opportunity where I got to see how different people live their lives and make money in this world. And I thought to myself, I got to do something that I enjoy for the rest of my life. And I didn't want to sell insurance anymore. So that experience inspired me to just go back to school and to do something that I really wanted to do. And everything that I have done to this point, whether it be selling people insurance and trying to help them plan for their future, or cutting hair, or now teaching in school, has always been about helping people. It's always been what I want to do. I always want to be able to say that I spend my week helping people. So that's what led me to this profession. All those experiences led me to this place.
What's something you would tell your 18-year-old self with all the knowledge that you know now?
I would tell myself that I have the ability to do anything I put my mind to, because when you're young and you're 18, you don't always have all the confidence you need. I would tell myself to work hard. I would tell myself that time is of the essence, and that the more time you waste, the longer it takes to become professional and successful. And success is not something that we all see the same way. I think success is something you chase your whole life. I'd be wrong to say that I'm successful, because in my eyes, I'm not successful yet. It's a lifelong pursuit for me. So I would tell my 18-year-old self to work harder, and that someday you're going to be a teacher. And my 18-year-old self would say, "Get the heck out of here." I would never believe it. But yeah, it's the best move I made in my life, going into education.
Are there any resources that have helped you along your journey to the present?
Well, the best resources I have are people I work with. I've read a lot of books. I went to Rhode Island College, Providence College, CCRI. Like I said, I owned my own business for a little while. Those were all resources, but the best resource is the person next door who does what you do every day, and when you see them being successful. So the teachers that I work with are my best resources, by far.
You said you read a lot of books, and you're an English teacher, so you must read a lot in the classroom. So what's your favorite book that you would suggest to a student?
I have two thoughts on that. My favorite book I probably wouldn't suggest to a student. My favorite book while I was in school was 1984 by George Orwell, and I also like To Kill a Mockingbird, and I would recommend those to students. But right now, I think I would probably recommend something like The Hate You Give, which I read this summer, and that book I think is very powerful, especially where we are right now in this country. I think it's a very powerful read based on its perspective on life for inner city black people who are, struggling to get by. It speaks to everybody. It speaks to white people, black people, people with money, people without money. It's a really important read right now, and I think it's important that people look at life from a lot of different perspectives, and I think that book does that. So that would be my recommendation. And I think a lot of kids are reading it in 10th grade right now, and seem to be enjoying it and learning a lot from it. I know Miss Narcissi Stewart, she teaches it and she loves it. So I looked into it. I loved it too. It's a great book.
So along with being an English teacher, you teach the theater and drama classes. So how did you go planning for those courses?
Well, I want that class to be enjoyable. It's an elective. Students choose it. It's become pretty popular over the years. A lot of kids like to take it. They enjoy improvisation and things like that. But first and foremost, when teaching a class like that, I always have to think about a student who would choose that class because they're serious about theater. A student who one day wants to be an actor or a writer. So I always have those students in mind when I create the curriculum for that class. And the curriculum's been in place for a few years now, but I do tweak it quite a bit. But my thought is always about what would that kid need to leave this class with? And I think there's certain vocabulary they need to leave the class with, certain historical perspectives they need to leave the class with. So I make sure that I give them that, and everybody gains from that perspective. So everybody gains some knowledge about the history of theater, how to write a script, certain genre-specific vocabulary. Most importantly, for the wider point of view, the bigger audience and the whole class, my most important goal for that class is that students leave there more comfortable with themselves and they are able to speak in front of an audience. Not most kids aren't going to be actors. 90-something% of those kids probably won't be actors. But every single one of those kids will have to sit in front of a group of people and do a job interview or a portfolio presentation or a PowerPoint or a Google Slides presentation or speak in front of their class in some capacity. And I want them to be more confident in their own two shoes. So that's really the larger goal of that class. But again, I also have to hit on all those important genre-specific goals.
Are you married?
I am. My wife's name is Jennifer. We have 2 kids. I have a 16-year-old boy. He goes to Cranston West. His name is Mark Anthony. And I have a daughter, Sophia. She's 12 years old. She goes to Western Hills. She's a ballerina, and he's a hockey player.
I was going to play hockey, but with work, I just couldn't schedule it in.
A very busy schedule for hockey players, and you have a very busy schedule, so it would be tough for you to play hockey, but it's a fantastic sport. It's the one thing, or 2 things, if you will, that I love more than anything else is watching my kids do what they love. Watching my daughter dance, watching my son play hockey. In my entire life, there's nothing that I've enjoyed more than watching them do those 2 things. I just look forward to it. I look forward to their games and dances maybe more than they do. It's really what I love to do, and I'm really not looking forward to the day it comes to an end.
What's your hometown?
I live in Cranston, Cranstonian. I went to Cranston West, and I'm a Falcon and a Wizard now. A Falcon and a Wizard, always.
Cool.
Yep.
So what's something in your life that you failed at? Because sounds like you had a pretty busy life.
Oh, something I failed at. I failed pretty miserably a few times when I was in high school. I had some pretty bad experiences at times in school. I wasn't the greatest student in high school. When they say you learn from your mistakes, that's true, but sometimes it takes many mistakes before you learn, and I didn't study as hard as I should have in school, and I always think back on that. But it also made me who I am, and it made me the teacher I am, because I know now. I tell my students, I'm like your crystal ball. I know what happens in the future when you do this and when you do that. Some teachers were in honors their whole careers and their whole way through high school, and they did nothing but get A's and B's. I'm not that person. I had my struggles at times. I needed extra help at times. So now, because of that, I have a soft spot in my heart for kids who need help, and I'm always there for them. They can always retake something or make something up with me because I know the struggles I went through in high school. I made it. I graduated, but it wasn't without some lumps.
My next question is, have you ever thought of a business or invention? Well, you said you started a business, so is there a invention you thought of making?
I'm not an inventor. I mean, I invent lessons every year, and I invent curriculum, and I invent activities for my theater and drama class in that way. But to build something, I don't have a green thumb. I'm not a handyman at home. But I have thought of businesses. I have thought of different things like, different like hair and hairstyling businesses and things like that. I thought about some things that might work, but I'm not that committed to it. I have only so much time, and it's spent with my family and with my job that I have now. But I always thought a traveling hairstylist would be a good business for somebody who doesn't want to sit in a salon all day. And name it something like Here We Go.
That's cool.
With traveling barbers and hairstylists who go to, older people's houses or younger people's houses or office buildings where people have a party after and they need their hair done quickly and you travel. But something like that I always thought about, but I never really did it, obviously.
What's something that you're curious about right now?
Curious about right now. Jeez, I'm always curious. I'm curious what's going to happen with SATs in the future. When we're talking professionally, what am I curious about? How long will we focus on SAT prep before that changes? Will that be something that's around for a long time? That piques my curiosity. And can we rise to the challenge in West Warwick and meet that challenge? Because it is challenging. I'm curious about that. I'm curious if the Dallas Cowboys will get better next season with their new head coach, Mike McCarthy. I'm curious if Tom Brady leaves New England, which I hope he does. I'm hoping that New England never wins another Super Bowl. And I'm hoping that the Dallas Cowboys reign supreme next year. So I'm curious about football. I'm curious, about that. I'm curious what the Red Sox are going to look like without Mookie Betts. I guess those are my curiosities right now.
It seems like you're a big Cowboys fan.
I'm a big Cowboys fan. I gave my wife her engagement ring on the 50-yard line at Texas Stadium.
Cool.
Yeah, so she, whether she liked it or not, was at that moment forced to answer two questions. Do I want to marry this man? And do I want to live life as a Cowboys fan? And both of those answers needed to be yes at that moment. And they were. And we're still together. We're still together 20 years later.
You and Mr. Onisco must always talk about the Cowboys because I know he likes them too.
We do. He is a huge Cowboys fan like I am. We're miserable. We're miserable together, Brian. We are miserable every football season because we inhabit a building filled with Patriots fans. Mm-hmm. And we have to answer to them. And we have to listen to them cheer and laugh. And we have to watch them smile and make merriment while we live in misery. It's not fun, but it'll change. It'll change. It's turning around. I can feel it.
As a teacher, you have your house, your desk, and your car. So which one of those three things would you choose to clean first?
Desk is last, for sure. House is first. I would clean my house first. I usually clean the kitchen, because we put a new kitchen in a few years ago. So when the granite is looks like it has some gook on it or something, it drives me crazy. So I would clean the house first. Car second. I like to keep my car nice and shiny now. House first, car second, desk third.
As an English teacher, you must come across many words. So which is your favorite word that you've seen or encountered?
Wow, that's a tough question. What's my favorite word? My favorite word would be victory, as it relates to my football team. Victory. But my favorite word when it comes to school would probably be perseverance. Because our student body, they have a lot on their plate, whether it's in class or at home or amongst their peers with all the drama that they deal with on a weekly basis. So if they could just persevere and get through it and see that if they work hard, that there's a lot of good things that could happen. I think perseverance might be one of my favorite words.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Brian. You did a fantastic job. You got a nice setup here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All right.
And for all you listeners, I'll be back next Friday with another episode.